I always say that the aspects of aging are general, typical, or common issues, challenges, even considerations that are going to happen. When do they happen? To what extent do they happen? How do they happen? All these questions that need to be answered. Aspects of aging can happen in cluster formation to you. They can resurface throughout the day or months and months apart. They are going to happen out of order. So when you are going through your PreAct Your Age journal and responding to prompts and making decisions and communicating with people, there is no let's do this one first or this one we should save till later. You can do any that you want to. I keep thinking, maybe this one, it would be better to approach later, but that's not the way aspects of aging occur in people's lives. Oh, and they don't just happen to you. They happen to the people around you that are of various ages, older, same, and even much younger than you thought that aging aspects could happen. And when they are happening to you, they are happening to those who care about you. I need to say my answer to the last episode's question. If I was going to be a doula, what kind of life event doula could I be? And I challenged you to look up to find out, what do those doulas do? So there are death or end of life doulas. There are certainly birth or birthing doulas. And I have introduced the concept, I have submitted for your perusal, the idea that you need an aging doula. Well, my answer may not be as fancy as yours. You may have looked up another life event and decided that you needed to be a yachting doula or a chocolate doula to help people through their chocolate phase. There's certainly plenty of life coaches for serious reasons and for joyful reasons. The upswings of life and definitely the downturns. I have already acted, not labeled or trained as an end-of-life doula, but I have already assisted in that situation in that way. On one side of me were loved ones. On the other side of me were volunteers and workers for hospice. And before me was a person who was actively dying. They were in their last act of living. And I have to say, it was a privilege. It was the longest shift I have ever pulled by necessity. Things had changed quickly. And someone was needed, and I was honestly glad to be there and quite exhausted when it was over. I acted in an emotional capacity as a go-between with my client's best interests at heart, and somehow giving balance to people coming in and out and those who were remaining. And it was a privilege to make a note of any change in a way that if families sat down and flopped open those pages that I was required to write, they would see flickers of life and even memories that were being talked about and that applied to the situation. It was a privilege. I will never know if what I wrote did any good, but it certainly did me good in the moment. Perhaps you've been there at the passing of someone, not because of an unexpected tragedy, but because it was very much expected. And yes, you were emotionally drained. You were looking for things to do to ground yourself, center yourself, to somehow cling to some amount of reality, or to relieve yourself from the shock and the finality. And in that time, on accident, I discovered that right communicating, or thinking that I was doing something good for those who would continue on, really helped me personally, as well as attending to everything that I was expected to do as a hired in-home caregiver. That's my answer. And now we're moving on to other serious matters. The first one is the increased need for non-prescription, you didn't need to get this from a doctor or get permission to purchase this item, machine, tool, but non-prescription assistive devices. I just found one of those stores the other day in a different community. Happened to just turn and look as I was driving by and said, make a mental note, there is a brick and mortar store where you can walk in and browse. Well, those aren't the only ones. Perhaps the first thing that comes to your mind is something to help ambulation, or to help someone move from one place to another safely when they don't have anything to hang on to. And you might also think of some that are actually prescription devices. You can't just go down to the store or borrow a CPAP machine from a neighbor so that you can use it for a few nights. You can't do that with oxygen tanks and air concentrators either. That isn't something that you just do to yourself to see if maybe it'll help you feel better. But there are lots and lots of things that you can buy in a grocery store, in a bathroom accessories store. There are things that you can, of course, purchase online, but you might want to try some out. Obviously, at pharmacies, you might want to try some out so you can kind of get an idea of, well, what they sound like, what they feel like, how they make you feel. So the increased need, meaning that you're actually growing as you grow older in your awareness of what other people are using to relieve pain, to ease their breathing, to ease the minds of their loved ones who are worrying about them. Yeah, I'm talking about something you might hang around your neck to let them know that you haven't fallen today. But there are also other devices that are just kind of simple, helpful, convenient inventions that will help you as you are experiencing other aspects of aging. Perhaps you have had to go through a procedure, a surgery, and you need a particular kind of bandage that will not make your skin or your pain, or maybe a device that has been added to who you are, it will not make it worse. It may be just maintaining, it might be improving and restoring you after an injury. So those are the non-prescription assistive devices. Whew, a mouthful. Another one that to me is quite serious, because neglect, self-neglect, is a terrible subject. That is a form of self-abuse, which no one agrees is a good idea or elevates your well-being. And this self-neglect, I just call it of time alone. You're mulling over memories, and they are not pleasant ones. You are talking to yourself, maybe not out loud, maybe yes out loud, about something that you're staring at through the window, or that you can't see anymore in your bedroom. It's as if your bubble, your life bubble, your interests, your interactions, the things that you aspire to, they've all reduced down to your own thoughts, or maybe the thoughts that are being pushed at you by the television, by reading the same materials over and over again, because getting a hold of new books from the library isn't part of your daily or even your annual habits anymore. You are just constrained, and it's a self-constraint. It's like a self-inflicted solitary confinement. It isn't that people aren't coming into your home, and it isn't that you're not being invited out, but this is what you've decided, and you're not really thinking in terms of, am I going to keep doing this for the next week, the next month, longer? You're just thinking, today, I only need this. I am quite content to have my world stay inside of my box. It isn't the way you've lived all the rest of your life. It's not being put upon you by a physical debilitation that has caused you to be bedridden. You just don't want anything to happen outside of these unspoken, unwritten rules that you've placed upon your life. It's as if you've become, but you would leave. Maybe you always leave for a medical appointment, but the rest of the time you want to stay still. Now, I mentioned that self-neglect was a form of self-abuse. I'm moving now into the toughest subject for me to talk about, because as a caregiver, I have walked in on situations that caused me to dial 911, and it wasn't because someone was on the floor or having physical difficulties. They had been abused. And I have called for help. I have called for family and caring people. And it also was emotionally exhausting, because for me, as an outsider, still free and capable to stand up for myself, or to not feel that others' opinions should be placed against me, I feel that I still have relationships that would notice and care and stand up for me, I hope, if something was being done to me. So this I call targeted becoming a target for elder exploitation. That's going to cover a huge category. It could be a con. It could be a scam. There is a person who has noticed, oh, not only are you alone or vulnerable or lonely or needy, but you are also at an age, I can tell by the sound in your voice, the look on your face, the way that you have filled out a form. I can tell because I was hired to come in and give care for you. I can tell because I've lived in your neighborhood and I've watched you go downhill. This is my chance. I can go in for little visits and I can simply walk out with some money or some items, and people will just shrug and say, oh, well, maybe you forgot what you did with it. Maybe you really didn't have that. Maybe you put it away somewhere. I know I can probably get away with a lot. There are, of course, other criminals. Anyone who exploits anyone else is committing a crime. There are other criminals who actually take great joy in knowing that they are causing suffering. Their specific, their want, their desire precludes anything about your life, who you have always been. What they're going to take from you and from those who care about you is peace of mind, a feeling of safety. They're going to take away your trust. They're going to take away your health, physical health, of course, your psychological, emotional health, your spiritual health. They are taking advantage of you and they are taking from you. They could even mismedicate you so that you will be subdued, so that they can continue to do whatever it is that they want. They may just be squatters that simply will not leave your property, and they will take your nutrition from you. They will use up your finances. So all of those things sound horrible. Who wants to even think about that? I suggest that you do, because my question for the next episode is, what can you do right now to make sure none of it happens to you? It's not a one-time thing, but it is a start for a new habit. And I will tell you right now that the good people around you are really bad at dealing with con artists, with deceivers. They're just bad at dealing with bad people. And I hate that this is a reality, that bad people are just really good at being bad, and they actually do not consider their own future. They certainly do not consider yours. Really tough, heavy subjects. You deserve to be informed. You deserve to have some way of escape or avoidance or empowerment. And so next episode, I will give you that empowerment. Until then, I just need to quickly highlight that the fourth C is considerate. That's in your page, the end of every page in the PreAct Your Age journal. Considerate. That means to ask and listen to that person that you've delegated to be your designee, whoever they may be, a brother, a bartender, a barista, a counselor, or a caregiver, or a cousin. Ask them and listen. What do they think about your responses and your pre-action plan? You can consider it, but you are not obligated to take their advice, but you can have that conversation with them, because what you're doing, you are deepening, you are fortifying those relationships that will make all the difference in your well-being for the next years and decades. So consider it. Make sure you share with them what you did to pre-act your age. Make sure it's someone that you feel like you can confide in and who has your best interests at heart. The next three, nope, it's the last three. of the 52 aspects of aging are camp, but what if I don't wanna? Calendar, coordinate, and number 52, you'll just have to find out. I am Christine A. Smith, and I got over my fear of being recorded and videoed and listened to and relied upon for ideas and resources and answers and solutions. I got over my fear of presenting my concept in front of people who are expecting to get something of value, because you are worth it. You are of value. And so now that I have conquered those fears, at least to a degree, I can continue to be the aging enthusiast.